welcome in to the Big Hitters Only podcast. Very, very special guest. We have PFT Commenter joining us of Pardon My Take fame, the biggest sports podcast in the world, and also host of Macrodosing with Arian Foster and Big T. Barstool Sports. What's up, PFT?
Doing good. It's UNC week. It's a big week for JMU. We always say UNC is our biggest rival. So, looking forward to what hopefully will be a good game on Saturday.
Yeah, I wanted to have PFT on. He's the most famous JMU alum. You were on game day last year, and UNC is playing JMU this Saturday in Chapel Hill. We're recording on Wednesday, September 18th at 2:35. We're going to do 5 minutes of JMU UNC talk, and then I want to get more into like your life, your career, dive in there. But JMU, new head coach, 2-0, coming off a bye week. Preview JMU for us heading to Chapel Hill right now.
Okay, so I think the winner of this game, we won't really know anything about the winner of this game, but I can say that the loser of this game might stink. So we also played against Gardner-Webb. They gave us a run for our money, but we played against Charlotte, and I know that you guys played against Charlotte. We beat Charlotte by more points than you beat Charlotte by. So I think by the transitive property, right now we are a better team than UNC. I think we can say that the transitive property never lies. So, but we're gonna figure it out this weekend. We're kind of a program that is in flux. We've got a really good head coach, Bob Chesney. He's from Holy Cross. He was one of the hottest names from small schools. Like he was getting interviews at all the larger like Group of 5 schools that had openings. He was a name that a lot of very smart coaches wanted. We lost our head coach Kurt Signetti last year. He took us to 2 consecutive Sun Bowl championships. Asterisks. I know I have to say asterisks because we weren't officially Sun Bowl. We weren't the champions of the Sun Belt because we were not qualified to receive any sort of postseason notoriety on account of we had just switched into the league, and you have to have a 2-year waiting period. But we did have the best record in the Sun Belt 2 years in a row, and then Indiana grabbed him up, and Indiana looks really, really good right now. So I guess what I can say is I'm not like an Indiana football fan because they have our coach, but I think it's a good thing if the teams that hire our coach end up competing in Power 5 conferences or Power 4 conferences, because that means we're going to get better coaches that want to coach for us. Yeah. So it's like, if you're going to be a stepping stone, you might as well be the biggest stepping stone. That's kind of what I'm rooting for.
Yeah, I feel like UNC caught JMU at a good year. In transition, coach just left to the Big Ten, took a lot of players with you. JMU, man, they've been pretty good already in the Sun Belt. I have a lot of friends who go to App State, so App State's kind of like a built-in natural rival for JMU, so I'm familiar. What's your so far? How you liking the Sun Belt? The fun conference.
It's a very fun conference, and I think you could definitely make the argument that various divisions of the Sun Belt, depending on the year, have been better than the divisions of the ACC. I know the ACC's had a couple down years, but our brand of football, it's like chaos. It is. It's similar to Maction in a way. I'd say it's like Maction with more speed. So the mistakes are even funnier because they're done going 100 miles per hour. But it's a fun brand of football, and there's some really good teams that play in the Sun Belt. So I wouldn't be shocked to see a Sun Belt team in the college football playoff, if not this year, definitely in rotation as one of the schools that gets that last bid.
Yeah, I worked at a Maction school last year up in Ann Arbor, Eastern Michigan, and I think the Sun Belt has a little bit of advantage because the recruiting base is more southern. You can recruit Georgia, Atlanta, deeper south areas, where Maction, you're mining for players in Michigan and Illinois and stuff. So, and schools like JMU have thrived. App State's always been there, so definitely a fun conference.
Yeah, it's Maction with more flavor. You know, it's exactly. A little extra spice on. Now, Eastern Michigan is an interesting school. I hate that field. I hate watching that field on television.
Dude,
it looks
I worked there. I won that field like every day. I was there for game days. I was in the building for football and basketball last year.
When you're on the field, it doesn't look that bad. When you're looking at the field in person, it's not bad. But when you watch it on TV, it's just infuriating because you think your TV is broken.
Yeah. For those who don't know, Eastern Michigan has a great field. It's where Max Crosby went. They just named the field Max Crosby Field. So shout out the Eastern Michigan Eagles. All right, a couple questions about JMU, and I want to get your opinion on UNC.
Okay.
What was it like going to school there? Because I played club water polo and club volleyball at UNC,
Mm-hmm.
and we went up to JMU a lot for tournaments. So I'm familiar a little bit. Like there's an interstate running right through your campus, which is a little strange when you're driving through. I'm sure there's a bridge, or not a bridge, but like a tunnel underneath. But what was it like going to school there?
So we have both. We got a bridge and we have a tunnel underneath
Okay.
Interstate 81. It is kind of strange having that like bisect your campus in half. And for a long time, the school was just on one side, but then we kept expanding and expanding. We bought property on the other side of the highway, so we started to build that bridge, the tunnel. Now that side of campus has exploded. It's a little bit dangerous because like once or twice a semester, you'd have somebody that would get the great idea to run across the interstate late at night after hitting the bars,
Oh,
and
tough.
that would usually not end up well, or at least the person would get hopefully caught as opposed to the alternative. But there was that element of it. It's a school that's predominantly female. I think the percentage is like 62, 63% female, and that was good for me. I had a lot of friends from high school that went to Virginia Tech, where it was like the opposite, and so they would all come up to JMU for the weekend to hang out and see some actual women that would walk around. And then a lot of my friends that went to JMU that were women from high school, they go to Virginia Tech for the weekend and be like, "Oh, this is kind of crazy. You don't see like a lot of like nines or tens that are women walking around with guys that are sixes or sevens." So for me as a guy, it was very nice for me having that ratio in my favor.
Love it. It got us. I get a little reputation of like being a party school. We went up there. We would party with like the volleyball team and the water polo team. We played Beirut. We called it beer pong. We called it Beirut. When I was there, we're probably there at
Yeah,
the same time. And it's a beautiful area as well.
I never really understood the Beirut beer pong distinction. I just always called it
Yeah,
beer pong. But yeah, to have some
beer
people
pong.
that be like,
Yeah,
they'd shorten it. They'd be like, "You want to play some root?" I'd be like, "No,
yeah.
man. No, I want to play some beer
So
pong."
so what I thought was really cool. I mean, I've followed your career. I've been listening to PMT forever. You getting picked as the game day picker was incredible because it's like such an alternative pick. You're still not. I wouldn't consider you like mainstream for the people that watch College Game Day. I don't mean that in any offensive way, but
Yeah.
like you're still an alternative sports media character. What was the process like? Were you surprised to get selected? What was kind of that process to get that done?
Okay, so when they announced that they were going to go to JMU for the JMU App State game, it was a Saturday night, like late night. I was sitting on my
Hmm.
couch and I saw that, and I was like, first of all, that's awesome that we're going to get game day. I think it had only been there one time before, but I was very excited for the program and for how we were going to get some more eyes on James Madison, given that they couldn't play in the postseason, but they were undefeated. They were ranked in the top 25, and there was a good chance at that point that we would finish the season undefeated. So I thought, maybe there's a chance that game day goes there. They announced that they're going to go to Harrisonburg. I was super excited, and after about like 10 minutes, I thought to myself, like, there's a 25% chance that maybe they would ask me to do this because we don't have a huge list of notable alumni, especially
Yeah.
a list of notable alumni that are like prominent in sports or sports media. I know Lindsay Zarniak. She was on ESPN for a while. She went to JMU, but she's no longer on ESPN, so I figured they wouldn't ask her. But we don't have like a huge list of alumni to choose from when it comes to that. So if you go to the list of James Madison University alumni page on Wikipedia, you'll scroll through there and you'll be like, oh, I guess I didn't know that guy went there, but none of them are like massive celebrities.
Hmm.
Probably the most famous in the sports world, I believe Scott Norwood went there, the kicker for the Bills that missed that kick wide right.
Okay.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of who I was up against. But then as the week goes on, I didn't hear from them, and so I assumed that they weren't going to ask me to do that. They'd already figured that out at that point. And then I got a text actually from Pat McAfee on, I want to say that Wednesday, maybe that Tuesday or that Wednesday, uh, or it might have been even later in the week. I think that ship had sailed. I had mentally accepted the fact that it
Yeah.
was not going to be me. And then McAfee hit me up because we used to work together here at Barstool, so we know each other pretty well. He was like, "Hey man, has anybody reached out to you and asked you about game day yet?" And I said, "No, I haven't heard anything." He's like, "Stand by." And about 20 minutes later, I got a text from McAfee and one of the producers on the show being like, "Hey, would you like to come to Harrisonburg and make these picks?" And I was like, yeah, that seems pretty cool. So, uh, stepping back on campus was kind of surreal to be coming back in that environment where it was like this
Yeah.
giant party going on the quad, and then just getting like golf carted through the maze of people and getting up there and getting to hype up all the students and looking around. I think I said when they were walking me down the steps, uh, right there onto the quad, I think I stopped and I told the person who was interviewing me, like, this is wild. Like, that was my favorite professor's class right there. And then over there, that's where I got arrested on St. Patrick's Day. And
Yeah.
like, it was like a flood of emotion and nostalgia that came back to me all at once. So it was an awesome experience. I wish we could have won the game, but it was still a really, really fun time. And that's one of those like pinch yourself moments where it's like, did I die? And is this a simulation that I'm going through right now?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. All right, enough JMU talk. I want to get your takes on some other things. First of all, what do you know about UNC? Like when you hear
Yeah.
UNC, Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels, what's the first thing come to your mind? And I want to run through a couple like more Barstool, PMT, and kind of your career questions before we get out of here.
Okay, so first thing that comes to my mind is you guys have a sick ass shade of blue, like an awesome shade of blue. The UNC colors, the Carolina blue, it's awesome. I had UNC stickers on my cars growing up because my mom was a big fan of UNC athletics. So we had the actual like Tar Heel bumper sticker that was on our
Mm-hmm.
car that we drive everywhere. Um, I love the colors. The Carolina blue is by far the best blue. I don't think that there's a close second in terms of blues. So love those. I think of obviously Michael Jordan. I think of Dean Smith. I think of Roy Williams, who, by the way, some stats say Roy Williams better college basketball coach than Coach K. If you look at what happened after Roy Williams went to UNC while they were contemporaries, you could make
Yeah.
the statistical argument he's a better basketball coach than Coach K. People don't want to talk about that though. So I love those aspects of UNC. You guys have a really good like late night drunk food place that does a hell of a fried chicken biscuit, right?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of Time Out.
Yeah, that's great.
Shout out Time Out. Yeah, I would say the biscuit is kind of like Chapel Hill's like food. Like every restaurant, every like Southern restaurant has a biscuit. There's a couple places that are like known for that Sunrise Biscuit Kitchen. That's only open in the mornings, and then Time Out's a 24-hour kind of country place, fried okra, mac and cheese, and like
Yeah,
big square fried chicken biscuits. Right, it moved. It moved since I was in school. It's right across in the quad now. So that's a
I
good shout out for them.
I
We need
love
them as a sponsor.
I love the biscuit. Yeah, sponsor this pod. The biscuit is superior to the bagel in my opinion. So you'll have a soft spot. Like I can't hate UNC. There's a lot of stuff about UNC that I really do like. I think Mac Brown is a great dude. Love him. I was in Austin when he was the coach at the University of Texas, and he kind of took his eye off the ball when it came to recruiting. But he did a good job in terms of like being a
Yeah,
cool guy to hang out with and to get along with for all the boosters down there. Because at Texas, it's an impossible situation for a head coach. You've got like 9 people that are so involved with Texas football that they think that they run the program. And Mac Brown did a great job in making them think that they were actively involved while he actually did, the nuts and bolts of it. So I think he's a good guy, and I think it's an easy team for me to root for. Again, which is why it's hard for me to like generate hate for UNC.
yeah. Mac Brown, I think UNC is going through a similar situation that Texas went through with Mac Brown, where it's time to potentially move on. Maybe lost the touch, obviously at different levels. Like there's a lot more need to win and higher pressure at Texas. And he got kind of pushed out once recruiting slipped. And once you weren't winning 10, 11 games, you're winning more 8, 9 games.
Yeah,
He's in his 6th season now at UNC, and he's the ultimate politician. Like he's great at fundraising. He's
yep.
great at rallying the boosters. He's a great communicator. But the in-game stuff and recruiting, it's kind of at that point now where, but he's old. I mean, he's getting up there too. But I mean, he's still got great energy. He landed Sam Howell and Drake May. I covered
Hmm.
all those teams. And so he brought UNC kind of back, and it's kind of plateaued now. And now it's at a point where it's like, all right, is UNC going to take the next step to like 10, 11 wins or kind of stay around 8 to 7 wins? That's kind of where UNC is right now in year 6 of Mac Brown.
His problem is he makes his students actually go to class, and if you look at the history of UNC, sometimes they like to color outside the lines a little bit.
There you go. All right. That's a sensitive subject. The Butch Davis era at UNC, man. Fans get very upset.
I know,
All
but
right,
I love it. I want my coach cheating, for the record. Like, if you're not cheating in college football, you're not trying.
And now it's almost pretty much legal any way you do it.
Yeah.
All right, I want to get, dude. I've been listening to your podcast. I mean, pretty much since the beginning. It's one I listen to every week. I mean, there's hundreds, millions of fans out there. Your Rise is particularly interesting. The Rise of podcast. Y'all kind of always talk about how you kind of caught the podcast at the right time. What did you do before that, and what was your introduction into getting into PMT? Because I mean, it's pretty much you're a Twitter personality that was blogging a little bit, and then that led to where you are now. How would you kind of paraphrase your rise into the podcast world?
Yeah, I was first tweeting, and then I started blogging, and I started working for a couple different websites, and that was my full-time job essentially. It didn't really pay like a full-time job, but I was scraping by, just covering the NFL for SB Nation and Kissing Susie Colbert. And people really liked my writing, and my following was growing, and so I knew I was doing something right. So I was like, you know what, I have fun. I'm gonna just see where this takes me. And to supplement my income a little bit in Austin, I wrote for the Austin Chronicle. I covered the University of Texas football team there for a little, and eventually I reached a point where I was like, you know what, I'd like to get health insurance and have a full-time job. And it was right about that time that Big Cat reached out. And we had been friends before that. We had hung out a few times. He told me that Barstool was getting a big investment from the Chernin Company. And he was like, I want to start a podcast. And he knew that I had been doing a podcast I just did 2 weeks, called The Steam Room. It was finally sports radio for men. And we had 2 episodes, and then Sirius tried to pay me, I think, $30 an episode, which was just like an insultingly low number. So I'd kind of given up on podcasting, but Big Cat knew that I had dabbled in it a little bit, and he said, I'd like to start a podcast with you. The only thing is you'll have to move to New York City. And I was like, you know what? Let's give it a shot. Let's see how this goes. And you're right. It was kind of like right place, right time. Podcasts were just starting to take off. Serial was like the biggest thing in the world at the time. And I think it was also at a time when people were getting sick of like how ESPN and Fox Sports and these other buttoned up companies were covering sports. They were treating it very, very seriously, and wearing suits and stuff to have conversations that should be had just by normal people who have what I like to think is a good sense of humor and really care about the sport. So it was a combination of right place, right time, and also a different perspective that hadn't been touched that people really wanted to have out there. So it was kind of a quick rise for us too. It took off, and our motto has always been "Get ahead, stay ahead." And Tom Crean taught us that, former coach at Indiana. So we've just been grinding. We like to think that we have a great time. We have the easiest. Well, I don't want to say easy. We have the luckiest job, but we work a lot. We work very hard at sounding this stupid.
Yeah, I don't think people realize, I just started this podcast at the beginning of the football season because I was covering UNC and transitioned to an editor role with CBS, and I wanted to still cover UNC and still have my own kind of opinion. But it's a lot of, it's fun work, but you have to produce, you have to plan interviews, you have to take the time, you have to schedule interviews that maybe don't fit your schedule and kind of work at different times.
Yeah.
And to do 3 shows that are 2 hours long and coordinate it. It is a lot more work than just throwing on a mic and headphones. And
it's helpful to be working with people that you actually like, because a lot of times you can start a podcast and you can say, okay, I feel like this is a good fit. But then if you don't actually genuinely enjoy hanging out with the people that you're working with behind the scenes, it's not going to last as long as you want it to. And it's a testament to Big Cat and Hank, and now we've got Max and we have Memes, the whole crew that works with us here. It's a testament to them that they're easy guys to work with, and they all kind of share the same, I don't know if values is the right term, but we're all equally driven. So it's really the most important thing in our lives, outside of family and all that stuff. But we spend more time with each other than we do with family. So you have to make sure that it's a good fit and they're genuinely good human beings.
Yeah, I mean, the trips are awesome. And the Grit Week trips out to Vegas, Final Four, all that stuff looks awesome. All right, got you. It's 19:45. I got 2 more questions for you. So with the podcast thing, All right, so you're 39, I'm 38. We're very similar ages. Do you see yourself, how do you see yourself at age 50 podcasting? Are you going to try to reach the same audience, like 30-year-olds, 20-year-olds, or are you going to be podcasting for 50, 60, 70-year-olds? Because right now, you can still reach 20-year-olds and college kids and 30-year-olds. Yeah. But at some point, how do you do you think about that at all?
We try not to think about it too much. I think it's more about the platforms that you're using. So I'm not going to try to do anything and change myself to market myself to a younger audience. I don't think that Big Cat would try to change anything about who he is or what he does or what the show is. But I do think that staying on top of popular platforms that younger people are using is a big thing. So we had a great start in podcasting because I don't think that ESPN was doing a good job at identifying this is the platform that people are consuming sports media on now. They're we're going to continue to do radio, we do TV. We're not really going to pour the effort into podcasting. But as the platforms change, whether that's different social media apps that kids are using, we're going to put the stuff that we create on those new platforms. And hopefully the younger audience will like what they hear from us if we're talking to them in a way where we're, at least somewhat relatable. And I think that based on how things have gone the last 8 years, I think we can stay pretty relatable because we're just normal guys,
Yeah. You gotta add some Gen Z guys, some Gen Z producers, younger guys, interns to help you relate. All right, yeah. I got one last question. My favorite personality on Barstool is Jersey Jerry.
Yeah.
I watch his videos, some of his stuff. It's just cracks me up. What is that guy like in person? Is his stuff all to a certain extent, you're all characters, but I think most of y'all are pretty much yourselves. What can you tell me about Jersey Jerry? Because the guy, I think he's the best character y'all have.
Yeah, he is a character, but that's also his real personality. So I hang out with Jerry almost as much as I hang out with guys on Part of My Take. He's always around the office. We hang out and talk a lot. He is 100% what you see on camera is what he is all the time. And yeah, he's just a very interesting guy, and he's naturally funny. That's the thing about him. He could say anything, and you're going to laugh after it. But yeah, he's a great dude.
He's so earnest and genuine, and just wanting to work hard. But it's just the way he says stuff. It cracks me up. All right, man. PFT, really appreciate it. JMU week. Want to get a little insight into JMU and UNC, and it was awesome having you on. Appreciate your time.
I think it's too many points. I'm going to take JMU and the points. I think the spread's too high. I want to say it's 10.5.
Okay.
It's too many points. It's too many points for the boys from Harrisonburg.
UNC doesn't have a quarterback. We're playing two quarterbacks right now. Maxwell Johnson got hurt in the first game. We're rolling with two different quarterbacks. Mac can't pick a guy, so we don't even know who's going to start. So we don't really have much an offense behind an All-American running back who's a beast, Amarian Hampton. Remember that name?
Okay, I will. And we've got our quarterback is still kind of a question mark. He beat out Jordan McLeod, our quarterback from last year, who was a Sun Belt Player of the Year. But due to injuries, Jordan McLeod was playing. This guy is, at one point, he was better than him. So I feel like we could say that he's probably pretty good, but I guess we'll find out this weekend.
Love it. Guys, big hitters only. Appreciate PFT. Rate, review, subscribe, follow on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. This was a big guest. This is a big get, the biggest get on big hitters only. PFT, thanks so much for your time, man.
Yeah, great to talk to you, Ross. Thanks, man.